All right, today we're diving into one of the biggest, most game-changing lessons from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This is the last piece of the foundation, and it's an idea so simple it might just change how you think about your career forever. Work to learn, not just to earn. Think about this for a second. We're all conditioned to chase job security, right? But what if that feeling of safety is actually a trap? What if it's the very thing holding back your true earning potential? And let's take it a step further. What if chasing that next raise, that next promotion, what if that's the real reason you feel stuck in the rat race? This is the tough question Robert Kiyosaki forces us to ask ourselves. And this really gets to the heart of it all. It's a huge mindset shift. Most people are focused on the immediate reward, the paycheck. But the rich, they're playing a totally different game. They're focused on building a long-term arsenal of skills. And that one difference? Well, it changes everything. So let's unpack this first big idea, what Kiyosaki calls the specialization trap. And what's crazy is it's the exact path that most of us are told to follow. You know the drill. Our schools, our parents, society, they all push us to become an expert in one single thing. Become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. The logic seems sound, right? Specialize, get really good at one thing, and you'll make a high income. And for a lot of people, that's true. They do. But here's the catch. A big paycheck is not the same thing as wealth. Not even close. Wealth is about freedom. It's about owning assets that make money for you, so you're not completely dependent on that one high salary. And this is why so many specialists get stuck. They can be absolute geniuses in their field, but outside of that narrow lane, they're often financially clueless. They know how to work inside a system, but they have no idea how to build one for themselves. So, if specialization is the trap, what's the escape plan? Well, this brings us right to the core philosophy of Rich Dad. This is the phrase he drilled in over and over again. The whole point of a job, especially when you're starting out, shouldn't be just about the paycheck. It should be about collecting the skills that will, one day, make money start working for you. It all comes down to the questions you're asking. The poor and middle class mindset immediately jumps to, how much am I going to get paid? But the rich mindset asks a very different question. What am I going to learn? Because a job that teaches you how to negotiate or market a product could be way more valuable in the long run than another job that just pays a little more right now. And this is where we get to the idea of becoming a generalist. Instead of digging one super deep, narrow hole of expertise, you're building a wide and really powerful toolkit of skills that all work together. Rich Dad's advice was to learn a little about a lot. Skills like sales, marketing, communication, and just understanding the numbers. These are the building blocks of any successful business. They let you see opportunities everywhere and generate income from all sorts of directions, not just from that one paycheck. Here's a good way to think about it. A specialist might know how to make one gear in the machine run perfectly, but a generalist, the business owner, understands how all the different systems, cash flow, communication, legal, leadership, have to mesh together perfectly. That's where the real power is. Look, Kiyosaki basically boils all of business success down to 3 key management skills. You have to learn how to manage cash flow, how to manage systems, and how to manage people. If you can get good at those 3 things, you have the foundation to build pretty much anything you want. But out of all the skills he lists, Kiyosaki puts sales and marketing at the very top of the pyramid. Why? Because being able to communicate, to persuade, to handle rejection, that's fundamental to success in, well, anything. He tells this story about how he took sales jobs he didn't even need just to get over his own fear of rejection. That's how critical he thought it was. Okay, so how do you actually put all this into practice? It means you have to totally rethink your long-term career strategy. You've got to start playing a completely different game. This chart says it all, doesn't it? Poor Dad's advice is the classic career ladder. Stay put, specialize, and chase the next promotion. Rich Dad's advice is more like a jungle gym. Rotate roles, maybe even take a temporary pay cut to learn a whole new system. The goal is always, always skill expansion over a simple title bump. And when you follow that path, this beautiful, logical sequence starts to happen. First, the skills you collect open up doors to opportunities you never would have seen before. Then, those opportunities let you acquire or build real assets. And finally, it's those assets that buy you your freedom. Which brings us to the final, and I think most powerful lesson in this whole chapter. It's about understanding the real end goal of all this learning. This is the fundamental trade-off. Employees trade their time for money. It's a one-to-one exchange. The rich, on the other hand, use their skills to create leverage. A writer can get paid an hourly rate to write one article, or they can use their writing skill to create a book that sells thousands of copies while they sleep. That's leverage. Their income is no longer directly tied to the hours they put in. And that's really what this is all about. When you have this diverse toolkit of skills, you're not dependent on any single job or any single industry. You give yourself options. And in the world of money, having options is the ultimate form of power. Okay, so that's the strategy. It's powerful stuff, but it does make you wonder, if the formula is really that simple, why isn't everybody doing it? Well, the truth is, knowing the path is one thing. Actually walking it is something else entirely. And usually, the biggest roadblocks aren't out there, they're in here. Kiyosaki argues that even after you have all the financial knowledge, the next big battle is conquering the roadblocks in your own mind. And he identifies these 5 huge obstacles that stop most people dead in their tracks. Fear of losing money, cynicism that makes you miss opportunities, just plain old laziness, bad financial habits, and the kind of arrogance that stops you from ever learning anything new. And this is a massive point. Knowledge gives you the map, but if you can't get past these internal hurdles, you'll never even start the journey. So you're definitely going to want to join us for our next explainer, where we break down exactly how to overcome each and every one of them. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.